Hello everybody and welcome to Rabona TV's weekend recap, hosted by your favorite United fullback, Matteo Darmian in glasses. Look the same? I don't really think so, but get a lot of comments about it. Anyways, thankfully Matteo was able to secure a sponsor for this episode, and surprise, surprise, it's OneFootball. Big thank you to the legends there who can also help you by keeping you up to date on the latest football news through their app, thanks to their customizable news feeds, live match tickers, match highlights, viral-worthy videos, and so much more. So hit the link in the description for a free download on iOS or Android, and give your mother a phone call as well for good measure. Prem's up first, and United went away to the Emirates after these two teams were on the opposite sides of 3-1 scorelines in France midweek. Arsenal went for a pretty attacking lineup with three at the back, both Ozil and Ramsey starting, as well as both Aubameyang and Lacazette. For United, I was feeling the 4-4-2, at least to start, with Fregi from Brazil and Matic in the middle. However, I thought it didn't really work in this particular case, mostly down to Matic not having the best performance of his career though. Granted, he has just returned from injury and may not be fully recovered. United had a decent first half, but just like their opponents midweek, they just couldn't bury any of their chances. Lukaku, chief amongst the fails, as he was right back to his Mourinho days, largely because he was playing too centrally in my opinion. His touch was shocking, finishing even more so, namely when he struck into the ground from 6 yards and it bounced off the bar. That would have changed the game big time. And then he did well to get around Leno, but had to get lift on the ball and struck it along the ground into Leno's arm. Credit to Leno though, he did his part, great save. Looked like he may have had Fred's strike covered as well, the one that went off the post. Oh, and in the second half as well, Lukaku was played in by Rashford and he took a touch instead of hitting it first time. Off game for him after 3 straight that he was excellent in. Still struggles against those Premier League top 6. Now, as for Arsenal, they looked quite good in this one. Emery clearly had them G'd up for this match, at least the defenders and midfielders, though they were a little lucky to take the lead when David De Gea made a mess of Granit Xhaka's strike. It had swerve on it, for sure, but De Gea began moving to his left while the ball was still going straight, before it started curving in the opposite direction. Pretty freak mistake from De Gea on that one. Definitely a collector's item, and he's still the best keeper in the Premier League. And for their second, it was a little bit fortunate as well, as there was barely any contact for the penalty, but that's the game these days, right? Any contact at all in the modern game gives the attacker a great opportunity to deceive the referee. It's frustrating to see, but it's just the way things are these days. If you've been watching lately, you know that Adrian likes his penalties cut and dry. I don't want any reason to debate, but Adrian's living in the past because that just doesn't happen. So I think for the most part, United will be frustrated with themselves for not taking their opportunities. De Gea and Lukaku will be hanging their heads a bit, while Arsenal's backline and central midfielders deserve a lot of praise. They were definitely winning the midfield battle, and the backline was strong too, Socrates especially. As Solskjaer said after the game, sometimes you can afford to miss chances, and other times you can't. This was definitely the latter. Chelsea took on Wolves in another interesting encounter on Sunday morning, and it went about as you would expect. Wolves were happy to sit deep and try to counter, and the possession really reflected that, by the way. I don't know if you watched, but it was 75% in favor of Chelsea, and it worked for Wolves for the most part, as Raul Jimenez gave them the lead in the 56th minute. Another goal for him, damn. And the bunker ball tactics were entrenched even further by Wolves, and they came so close to stealing the 3 points. But Eden Hazard came to the rescue in the 92nd minute as his strike from 20 yards out left Rui Patricio with no chance of saving it. 1-1, and if you're a Wolves fan, I think you'll be happy with the point, given the flow of the match. Outshot 22-2. I'll take a point if I'm a Wolves fan. Man City played against Watford. Drama there, considering the allegations of shady exchanges and the transfer of Jadon Sancho from Watford to City. And if that wasn't enough drama, the opening goal provided even more talking points, as Sterling was in an offside position when Aguero touched the ball. Now, the defender attempted the clearance, which rattled off Sterling and went in. There were questions of whether he affected the play or not, but the rules are clear here. The laws of the game state a player in an offside position at the moment the ball is played or touched by a teammate is only penalized on becoming involved in active play by interfering with play by playing or touching a ball passed or touched by a teammate, or interfering with an opponent by preventing an opponent from playing or being able to play the ball by clearly obstructing the opponent's line of vision, or challenging an opponent for the ball. That last one pretty much nails Sterling as he challenged for the ball from an offside position. I liked Pep's comment at the end of the match as he said, quote, "Next season we will have VAR and it will be more fair. If it was offside, I say sorry, we voted to have VAR from the start of the season. Other clubs said no." And of course there's people saying that, well, since the defender made a deliberate attempt to play the ball, then that would make Sterling onside. But unfortunately, like I said, he is affecting the play from an offside position by challenging for the ball in the first place. It's not as if he was way offside, further away from the ball, and the defender mishit it right to Sterling, That would be a different case. But anyways, from there, Sterling went on to complete his hat-trick, taking him up to 15 goals in the Premier League this season, and his goals continued to be a good omen for City, as in the last 34 matches he's scored in, across all competitions, Manchester City have won. Also, shout out to Watford's Gerard Deulofeu as he scored 17 seconds after coming on as a sub, which is the fastest a sub has ever scored in the Premier League era. Fast boys. And speaking of fast boys, Sadio Mane had a great run out against Burnley. In fact, Liverpool in general had an enjoyable time in the lead up to their Champions League clash on Wednesday. Looking at this match, I was thinking, potential banana skin for Liverpool? Burnley are tricky. But in the end, braces from Firmino and Mane made every little thing all right. I wasn't able to catch this game due to the daylight savings time, which is pointless. But from the highlights I've seen, as well as all of the stats and the conversation I had with my friend, it looked comfortable. And damn, were Burnley ever economical. 2 shots on target, 2 goals, 0 points. The final stat was not the one they were looking for. Oh, and Spurs, speaking of 0 points, their Premier League form is an absolute disaster at the moment. Winless in 4, 3 of those being losses. And look at who they've lost to. A 2-1 loss against Burnley, 2-0 against Chelsea, a team that was spiraling a bit at the time, and now a 2-1 loss to an improved Saints side, but still one that is only 2 points above the drop zone. That's a lot of 2s. Another week, another banger from James Ward-Prowse from a free kick, no less, which gave Southampton the lead in the 81st minute. Spurs had the lion's share of the play, but when the Saints attacked, they looked like they had some danger about them. Poch wasn't happy after the match, and yet he made more worrying comments that I wouldn't want to hear as a Spurs fan, saying that of course he'll return to Spain someday, that perhaps Tottenham have reached their limit, the limit being about 3rd or 4th in the league. Stuff like that, which doesn't really inspire me with confidence if I'm a Tottenham fan. Speaking of which, here's a look at how things stand in the table. City retain their 1-point lead over Liverpool. Tottenham now just have a 1-point lead over Arsenal, while United and Chelsea round out the top 6. And you know what? I could be wrong, but I think if you swap Arsenal and Spurs, then my preseason prediction for the top 6 would be bang on. Editor Adrian, is that correct? I don't know if it's right or wrong because I'm yet to check. Wow. That was a lot of Prem talk, really appeasing the Premies in the audience there. Let's talk Spain now, as Real Madrid versus Real Valladolid offered up an unexpectedly excellent watch. But a bit of an unlucky first half for Valladolid, as they put the ball into the back of the net 3 times, but only 1 counted due to the other 2 being offside. They also blazed a penalty over the bar before that. All of this in the first 20 minutes. They finally found a goal, but Real Madrid were able to find a fortunate equalizer a little later on. And from there, though, the old law of not taking your chances came back to bite Valladolid in the ass, and they hemorrhaged 3 goals to Madrid in the second half and lost 4-1. Great turnaround in the second half for Madrid as they dominated in spells and began taking their chances a little bit better. Benzema was a real leader, and a big congratulations to Casemiro, as for the first time in his Real Madrid career, he was finally able to get himself sent off. Power to you, man. May you be blessed by the Sergio Ramos, the Rojo Lord. Barcelona dominated Rayo Vallecano at home with Messi again behind much of the success, providing a pinpoint perfect free kick for Gerard Piqué to nod home, finishing from the penalty spot in the second half, and then he got to take some time off for the third as Dembele, Rakitic and Suarez combined for one of the cleanest goals of the weekend. Beauty. Now I mentioned Rakitic and his 1-2 with Suarez was a sight to behold for sure, unless you're Philippe Coutinho, who Rakitic replaced and made an immediate impact. Barcelona's all-time record signing is struggling still in Spain. He hasn't scored in La Liga since October 28th, 16 matches ago, and in that period, he has assisted just once. He was booed during the match, and his teammate Piqué had this to say about the Boo Boys. Quote, "Obviously, he cost a lot, and that means there are higher expectations. You have to accept the reaction of the fans because at the end of the day, there are supporters. You have to respect their opinion." End quote. Now there's talk about a potential return to England via Manchester United for around £100 million. Gosh, Liverpool fans would love that. Or maybe they wouldn't care much because they've been fine without him and got a massive payout, which led to the securing of Big Verge, an even more important player for them. And just imagine Liverpool without Van Dijk this season. Imagine if he went to City, as was rumored at times. Anyway, way off track here. My bad. All right, guys, you fill in the blanks. Atletico Madrid won by a score of 0 against Leganés. That's 4 wins on the trot for Atletico, who were resting some players in preparation for their match against Juve on Tuesday. By the way, watch along for that or what? I think so. Can Juve turn it around? We'll see together. Sevilla finally ended their winless skid with an emphatic win over Sociedad 5-2, while Getafe stretched their unbeaten run to 6 matches now, meaning the table looks a little something like this. Everything stays the exact same near the top as last week, as it was a good weekend for the top 9 clubs, as Real are 12 points behind Barcelona and Atletico are 7 points behind Barcelona. That was a weird way of saying the standings, but yeah, that's what it looks like now. Germany. The tides have changed. There's a new leader in Germany, as Borussia Dortmund have finally relinquished their lead at the top for the first time since match day 5. Bayern Munich sits atop the table. How did they do it? Well, first off, Borussia Dortmund got a 3-1 win over VfB Stuttgart at home. They left it late, though, getting the winner thanks to Paco Alcacer in the 84th minute, and Pulisic extended the lead in the 92nd. Okay, so there's that. A good win for Borussia Dortmund at home. Bayern, on the other hand, absolutely trashed Wolfsburg at home with an emphatic 6-0 win. Serge Gnabry was at the center of the first 2 goals, and upon being subbed off in the 55th minute, again, preserving for the Champions League, his replacement Franck Ribéry went on to set a record, becoming the first Bundesliga player since data collection has been collected from 2004, I believe, to record 3 assists as a substitute in 1 minute. Müller, Kimmich, and Lewandowski were the beneficiaries, as Bobek himself became the all-time top scorer amongst foreign players in the Bundesliga. Who did he just pass? Pizarro. Hannover 96 were up against both Bayer Leverkusen and the Snow this weekend, as Genki Haraguchi rounded the keeper and struck towards the empty goal, but the Snow slowed down his shot enough that Jonathan Tah was able to catch up to it. A brace from Volland put Leverkusen 2-0 up. Hanover clawed them back to 2-2 in the second half, but Kai Havertz scored the winner in the 87th minute. What a season he's having, as he became the youngest player in Bayer history to score 10-plus goals in a single season. 19 years, 272 days old, big future for that kid. Bear Grylls mentioned him in the live stream the other day, and it completely slipped my mind who he was even talking about, and I was like, Havertz? Who's that? But yeah, Kai Havertz. Thank you, Bear Grylls, for reminding me about him so I could check on him this weekend. So, as I said, Bayern are topping the table, but only on goal difference at the moment, as they're on equal points with Dortmund. RB Leipzig's draw was enough for them to grab 3rd over Gladbach, while Bayer Leverkusen's incredible rise continues. They're in 5th now. Someone in the comments last week said, to be fair, Italy is just as lopsided as France, so why don't you skip them as well? So this week, why don't we swap? I mean, Juventus won again, shout out to Moise Kean, and Napoli dropped points again, so now the gap is 18 points. Big yawn there. Big yawn in Italy. Not very interesting. So let's revisit France and see what's happened while we were on vacation from France. Well, I'm happy to see that Lille is still doing the absolute most to put some sort of pressure on PSG. Hey, they're trying, all right? As Lille are now unbeaten in their last 9 matches after getting a 1-0 win away to Saint-Etienne. Damn, Saint-Etienne's form has fallen off. 4 losses in their last 6 matches. But it was a pretty epic ending to this match, by the way. I don't know if you had the opportunity to watch it yourself or catch the highlights, but I'm here to spoil it for you. That's what the weekend recap is all about. It's one big spoiler. Anyway, Nicolas Pepe is still in solid form, though he has cooled off recently, as he scored the winner in the 87th minute in his 17th of the season. And then there's 2 red cards after that, in the stoppage time. His Speaking of unbeaten runs, Leonardo Jardim has turned things around a bit for Monaco as they haven't lost in 6 matches now. This weekend they drew Bordeaux at home, and while they have drawn their last 2 matches now, they're a full 6 points above the relegation playoff, which is quite the feat considering the dire straits they were in while Thierry Henry was at the helm. Great turnaround from Jardim, who's been given a chance to right his own wrongs from the start of the season. Lyon and Marseille are still disappointing me in Ligue. When I broke up with Liga, they disappointed me, and coming back to them again, they're still disappointing me. Marseille did get a win this weekend against Nice. That makes it 6 matches undefeated now for them, as Mario Balotelli scored the winner in the 64th minute against his former team. That's 5 goals and 7 appearances for him now. Great form. Nice, on the other hand, are having a nightmare season. Maybe not a nightmare. That's a big stretch. My bad. They're in 9th still, so it's not a nightmare. But as far as scoring goes, they're absolutely terrible. 20 goals from 28 matches. Only Guingamp, the team in dead last, has scored less than them. They've scored 18, just 2 less. And they're in 20th. And Nice are in 9th. That's crazy to me. Back to Lyon, they got a draw 2-2 with Strasbourg this weekend as they rested some players. PSG didn't play this weekend. They're back at it on Tuesday, I believe, playing against Dijon. And so with only 26 matches played compared to the 28 that most teams have played in the league, PSG still has a 14-point lead at the top of the table. Lille, Lyon, and Marseille make up the rest of the top 4, and the undefeated in 12 matches Reims are just outside of the top 4. And finally, Bonus League, that's right. Just a quick one though, because Adrian spoke too much about Arsenal and United. Someone asked me on Twitter, Instagram, or maybe even in the comments, I don't know, it all blurs into one, so I apologize to the person who requested it. The Russian Premier League. They're back from their winter break. They've been back since the end of February, to be honest, and after finishing the first half of the season with 2 L's, Zenit has returned with a vengeance, beating Ural 1-0, away, and this past weekend they won 2-1 at home to FC Ufa. I know what you're saying, hey Adrian, FC Ufa and Ural are 2 trash teams, but first off, calling a team trash, rude. Second, Zenit haven't been as dominant this season as they were years ago, so the victories were huge in holding off Krasnodar. Speaking of, Krasnodar have had just 1 match, a draw with Spartak since they have returned from the break, so their match today versus Orenburg is important if they want to stay within 3 points of Zenit prior to the first and second team meeting on April 21st. Major title implications there, probably, if things continue in this trajectory. CSKA Moskva won 3-0 against Rubin Kazan, with Shalov coming out big again. He assisted 1 and scored 1 himself to take his league tally up to 10 goals and 5 assists. Great run for him so far. Spartak defeated Dinamo in one of the many Moscow derbies, and well, Enzi Machakalaka, they lost 2-0 at home to Lokomotiv. So, here's the big Russian picture here. Zenit have a 6-point lead for now, having played 1 more than Krasnodar, while the 3 Moscows are taking up 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Okay, the end. I'm finished. You are all dismissed. It's over now. Thanks so much for watching La Gang. Merci à Le Mec et tous les Médudes. N'oubliez pas le watch-along demain, Juventus contre Atletico, et c'est tout. Je suis Adrien de Rabona TV et bonne journée.